Hello, my friends. Welcome to the next live stream in our Songwriting Feedback Series. In this series, we do together read and listen to a song from a new musicale submitted by a member of our community, and then I provide feedback through a slight alteration to my feedback process that we use in everything in the collective, in our courses, etc. Our song today, Man of Discretion slash Man from Sea, from the Island of Doctor Moreau, comes to us from composer-lyricist Craig Patrick Browne. The song brings into question the role of science and the delivery of information within the greater context of telling a story inside a musical theater song. It also asks us to take into consideration the idea of intellectual seduction through the use of a tango. And what order of song moments makes this song the most effective? We will also be asked to look at when is a song really two songs? When does a sequence feel too lengthy or too overwhelming? What information do we need to know as an audience and when in order to understand the story and to enjoy the dance of it all? And at what point does the musical accompaniment become too much or too distracting? Let's dive in and find out. Hi, everyone. This is fun. Um, yes, I am also so excited. Glad you're here. Hello. All right. So what we are going to do today is I'm going to start us off by providing a little bit of context. I always ask the writers to provide context first and foremost, and then we will know what their goals are with the piece before we dive into listening to it. It helps us focus a little bit on the feedback process, and then we will go through. We will talk about what's working really well, and then we'll dive into the remainder of the critique. So here we go. Context of the song, first and foremost. So this is directly from our writer. This is the first piece of music I've written since music theory class in high school in 1974. Good on you, my friend. I never stopped singing in choirs, cabarets, and musicals, though. I retired from teaching science just before lockdown and wrote the book and lyrics for the show with the help of an online writers group. This song takes place shortly after Moreau is introduced to Pendrick. Pendrick was rescued at sea by Moreau's assistant, Montgomery, and is now Moreau's unexpected guest. Watching from hiding are the Islanders, discarded products of Moreau's experiments. Ooh. Moreau wants to ensure that Pendrick will keep quiet about what he sees on the island when Pendrick returns to civilization. He uses the history of science to convince him of the need for discretion. While this is happening, the Islanders question the appearance of the new man, express hope that Pendrick can relieve their suffering. This is a lot of things. This is great. Thank you for that context. What's your goal of this piece? And he said, this song should show the audience aspects of Moreau's character, his intelligence, secretiveness, manipulation, and cruelty. The audience should hope, along with the Islanders, that Pendrick might change the conditions on the island, although he has been temporarily seduced by Moreau. Okay, so that's the goal of the piece, that all that comes across. And I also asked the question, what are you most interested in getting feedback on? And he said, since this is the first song I've written in 50 years, again, can we just like applaud that for a moment? First song you wrote in 50 years? Like, wow, come on. That's great. That's so great. Since it's the first song I've written in 50 years, I'm not sure of anything. Heard. But here are a couple of specifics. Is it too long? Since this is principally the title character song, should I separate Man of Discretion from Man from Sea and put the Islanders song before or after Moreau's? Okay, so we're talking about should it be separate? Should we be playing with order? Is the accompaniment in the verse too overpowering? Good question. Is the ending okay or does it need more? And most of all, did I geek out too much on writing the science history? Delightful. Can't wait. Is there anything else relevant to know? And he said, I decided to make this song a tango for two reasons. First, the tango has a very specific rhythm and chord progression, so I thought it would provide guardrails to keep my writing on course. Smart. Smart. We love structure. It's good for that. Second, Moreau is trying to intellectually seduce Pendrick, and the tango is a seductive dance. Great. God bless Morticia Gomez Adams. Agreed. Okay, great. That is lots of stuff. That is great. Thank you, Craig, for all of the context. So now, my friend, what I'm going to do is share my screen and my sound, and we're going to dive into doing this thing. Great. All right, sharing screen, and I'm sharing sound. Here we are. Great. Thank you. So I will scroll along with the lyric, but here is the music, and here we go, my friends. Okay. Hey, thank you, thank you. So normally in this process, first thing I would do is go back to the writer and have them respond to what it was like to have their music shown and shared and help direct us before we go into an affirmation process. But obviously they're not here, and we just read all that context. So we have some good thoughts on where we're looking as a reminder here. The goals here are the song should show the audience aspects of Moreau's character, his intelligence, secretiveness, manipulation, and cruelty. The audience should hope, along with the islanders, that Pendrick may change the conditions on the island, though he's been temporarily seduced by Moreau. Looking for feedback on, is it too long? Since this is principally the title character song, should I separate out Man Discretion from Man from Sea, but Islander song before or after Moreau's? Is the accompaniment in the verse too overpowering? Is the ending okay or does it need more? And most of all, did I geek out too much on the science history? Okay, great. With all that in mind, we'll start with some affirmations. The stuff that's working well, the stuff that we're enjoying, the positive reflections. Well, I mean, I'm always a sucker for a tango first and foremost. Well, no, that's not first and foremost. First and foremost is, hey, you wrote a song for the first time in 50 years. That's incredible. That's amazing. That is something that you should absolutely be so freaking proud of. And it's a big song too. There's a lot of story happening in here. There's a lot of character work happening in here. It's complicated. It's complex. There's a lot of people. It's a very specific situation. And then utilizing the tango as a way in for a storytelling device, I thought was smart. One of the things I enjoy about the form is that we always have that chorus feel to return to, but it does have enough flexibility in the chorus feeling of the tango to change up the lyrics, right? We don't have to have a copy paste refrain as pop music may ask us to have instead. And I thought that was a lovely choice. And the whole idea of like the seduction piece is a very interesting idea. I like the idea of intellectual seduction. Um, yeah, the also the melody ba 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 da 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 da. That's cute and catchy. I like it. Every time the chorus came around, I was happy that the chorus came back, um, which is a good sign. Uh, Also, a word like discretion. It's a good word. It's a great word. It's fun to say. It means something very specific. It's got that kind of like the darkness to it, while at the same time we're saying something that's got um a hopeful connotation to it, right? If we're being discreet, but we're asking discretion of other people. So it's a fun word to sing as well. I thought that was a great choice. A lot of the word choices in here were a lot of fun. Also, the references to science and also to science fiction, I thought those specifics were lovely. I do want to speak to some of your specific questions, though. So should it be separated out? Is it too long? All right. Well, if you know me at all, and most of you do at this point, you know that a lot of my feedback comes in the form of additional questions because I'm curious to know more info so I can further direct you. And one of the major things that I'm curious about is the Islanders and their role in this piece. So, looking back up here at what you had previously written for us, Craig, we have Watching for hiding are the Islanders, discarded products of Moreau's experiments. I want to know more about that. Who are we all looking at? What are these people? Are they people? I mean, obviously they are people at least to some extent because they are singing. They have thoughts, they have feelings. Um, they clearly have been mistreated. They are talking about pain in their lyrics. But I have a lot of questions on who the people are. Where are they from? Like, were these native islanders that this doctor was doing experiments on? Or are these people that he brought in or found somehow or somewhere? Um, because one of the things that kind of jumped out to me here was the idea of the broken English. And I wasn't sure if that was because these people, like, have they just been so torn apart and put back together that they don't speak a proper form of any language? Like, can they not? Or is this are we going closer to how Frankenstein's monster is usually portrayed, where it's groans and sounds and maybe some broken English depending on whose version of the story we're watching? Or does this have to do with the fact that they are non-English speakers? And I think that that's an important thing to know and to question here because broken English and the word islanders immediately raises at least a yellow flag for me of, are we doing something that is potentially uh, racist? Just to put it bluntly. But I don't know. I don't know. Have more information. Or these people who were people and have been deconstructed and put back together in horrible, gruesome ways and just no longer have the capacities and the intelligence they once had, right? So that's a set of questions I have. And I think that would speak to what we would need to know about the Islanders and what they're thinking when Pendrick arrives. Is Pendrick, because the first thing that they go to is this question of what is this man, right? So my immediate thought process goes to, okay, if they're questioning what is the man and not their first thoughts being, oh my God, someone who's not the doctor, we're rescued, we're saved. That just brings up so many more questions. Are these people even aware that there's a world outside of this island? Do they know that rescue is potentially an option? Is rescue potentially an option? Are they resigned to their fates? Have their brains been completely rewired? And I think once we know more about them and what their purpose is, what their function is in the song, within the show on the whole, I think that would start to answer the questions of what do we need to see from the Islanders? And do they get to interact with Pendrick? Or is all this watching from afar? Because if it's all just watching from afar, I think sprinkling in a little bit of what they're seeing, what they're feeling is good. I don't know that they necessarily need a full song though. But if this is more of, oh my God, we have to like meet this person and see if they are someone who can help us, save us, get us off this island. That would be, I think, something that might require more of a song moment of its own, and probably after meeting Pendrick would be my thought. Again, like with anything ever with me, take it, leave it, throw it out the window. But that would be my initial thought as to the answer to that question. Should they be separate songs and in what order? Is it too long? I did find it a little lengthy. I was wondering why we were doing so many verses here, but I will get more into that in a moment because I want to talk about the storytelling of this a little bit. Want to make sure I answer all your questions up. We have Okay. Is the accompaniment in the verse too overpowering? I like accompaniment, and I think in these kinds of song feels, you can do lots. You can strip back, you can add in, and having variation throughout would be great. Is the ending okay? And did you geek out too much? All right, so this brings me to the storytelling of the song itself, because I've got some questions. It's me. It's all about questions. Feedback's all about questions. So I just want to read some of the lyrics aloud, take us through, because obviously the lyrics weren't on the track. There were no vocals, so I want to make sure that we are all on the same page with this. So we have, I pray you are a man of discretion. I hope you hold your cards to your chest. My secrecy may seem an obsession, but I believe it's all for the best. Right. That sets up the song, the game. This is what we're doing. Right? I'm going to skip over the islands. Continue with Moreau. To be a leading scientist, one must assume a bit of risk, but as we know, the powers that be would choose to bind society. Bind society. I'm not sure what that means. We men of science seek only truth, and when we do so without ruth, rack and ruin is the fee if science is to grow. So I guess in terms of storytelling, something that jumps out to me immediately is why are we diving directly in to why is Moreau at this moment, if he is himself a man of discretion, at least in his own mind, why are we diving into admitting things like ruthlessness and rack and ruin and like that old adage of you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs, right? The more discreet thing to do would actually be to play everything down, right? Trying to make Pendrick not think too hard and be someone who is brought into his side. I'm just thinking about all the like manipulative type people, classically tropily, not a word, in storytelling. What they tend to do is not only play down the bad stuff that they're doing, but also try to win you to their side. So I thought that's where we were gonna head, and instead we seem to have done the opposite. Um, we go up, we do our course again. Then the second time around, Moreau, Galileo's telescope showed Venus changing. He took note. Earth's primacy was soon to die, and sole rule our celestial sky. Hard to hear that language shift there, and sole rule our celestial sky, just so you know. The Inquisition, alas, caught wind and did their best to silence him. Broken, sick, and plead a lie. The truth he must deny. Now, you see, that is a little more interesting to me. If we're starting off our argument with not saying, hey, sometimes we gotta cause a little pain in order to get to where we want to go. Instead, we're starting the argument with, hey, I really hope you're a man of discretion because, like, let's look at the history. Anytime a scientist makes a new discovery, bad stuff happens, right? This guy had to go back. He had to lie. He had to refute the things he knew now to be true about the world. That's unfair, right, sir? And then continuing from there, Galileo was not a man of discretion. He did not hold his cards to his chest. He was forced to make false confessions for promise of eternal rest. So he had to lie. I don't want to have to lie. That'd be terrible, right, sir? Okay, then we have Pendrick's response. 4 centuries have passed since then. Are we not yet better men? So Pendrick is already skeptical. And this is a difficult position to be in, right? If we have someone walking into our space who sees all these bad things we're doing very briefly and we just kind of like blinders on, let's walk this way, then there might be less questioning. But if Pendrick is already here to this idea of, aren't we better than that? Then I think it's a little harder to potentially convince him if that's what we're doing. And I think that's kind of what you were getting at with the idea of the intellectual seduction piece. Moreau continues, Darwin, traveling near the sea, realized how life came to be, but only told like-minded peers lest he stir religious fears. Okay, so that directly follows, right? Got Galileo, that whole idea. Religion was the problem here. Darwin was like, hey, I learned from that. Great, right? When Wallace found the self-same truth and went to publish his own proof, reluctant Darwin took the stage and proved himself the greater sage. Darwin was a man of discretion. I'm not sure why Wallace needs to come in here. If we're talking about Darwin and Darwin's story, and Darwin realizing that he had to be discreet, then we're saying he got on stage to get on a stage to prove himself smarter. That's not very discreet, right? Is that the point? So we have Darwin held was a man of discretion, held his cards close to his chest because he was a man of discretion. His theories rise above all the rest. So I kind of feel like Moreau's undercutting his own argument there by bringing up the Wallace idea. So maybe that's a question I have. Pendrick, back to Pendrick. I follow in that great man's wake. Is caution best when truth's at stake? The church's power fades every day. Can't truth be told without delay? I kind of feel like Pendrick's in a different conversation. Who is this guy? What do we need to know about him? How was he involved in this conversation about discretion? Questions. So many questions. Then, back to Moreau. The church is not our only foe. When one weed dies, some others grow. I like that. When Shelley penned her Frankenstein, she cursed bold science for all time. I'm not sure we learned this argument here. And now, a fresh voice, H.G. Wells writes, science as the spawn of hell. We men of science must be discreet. To show our hand would mean defeat. I don't know that bringing in science fiction is really adding to the argument here. We talk about a real scientist. We talk about a real scientist who experienced different things. One was not discreet, one was discreet. And then our third example is actually about science fiction authors who are stoking fear because of imagination. I don't know that I buy that necessarily, unless we're specifically relating it back to the mutilation of the people who are now the Islanders. But I don't know that we want to go back to pointing out the deeds we've done necessarily. So I don't know that we're quite landing the argument that we set up from the beginning. And then we have, I feel you are a man of discretion. I know you'll hold your cards close to your chest. But this is a lot of stuff. Like that's a big leap. I don't know that Moreau's landed his argument enough, and that Pendrick has been on board enough for us to fully say, oh, I know you'll be discreet. You won't give the game away. Which also makes me wonder if Moreau is the kind of amoral person that he seems to be, why is he not just killing Pendrick? I bet there's a storytelling reason that I'm not aware of here as to why he's not doing that. But that is the next thing that comes to my mind is, how did we convince Pendrick? Because I'm not sure I see it. And also, why are we keeping Pendrick alive? So, I think that's where my answers lie to your questions. It's a fun song. I very much enjoy the concept of this musical. I want to hear more about it, and I think that it's wonderful that you are digging in and writing this thing after coming to retirement and then not having written music in 50 years. That's truly just fantastic, and I'm stoked for you. And I want to know so much more. But at this moment, I think that's where my thoughts are on the piece. So, hey, let me know what your thoughts are. Anything I say, take it, leave it, throw it out the window, because it's just my opinion and what I'm picking up on with your context and your questions. But if you have other questions or you want to follow up with me, you know where to find me. We can absolutely do that. And for all of you out there, who are with me on this adventure. I will there's already a link in the description for if you want to submit one of your songs to the feedback series. And so we can talk about it live here. And I may in the future start bringing people on for live one-on-one, kind of like talking it out sort of things as we go through as well. I will stay on for a couple minutes though. If anyone has any questions, you can move into and ask me anything sort of dealio, but no pressure there. While people write up some questions if they feel like it, I will just say that upcoming in our musical theater writing collective, we have our next quarterly cabaret at the end of April with the theme is a fresh start. So something shifting, positive, anticipation, newness, freshness, anything along those lines from a song in one of your musicals or musical projects would be appropriate to bring in, and we share and we sing and wow, or we just play recordings and we do the affirmation part of the feedback process, and it's they're celebratory. They're so much fun. So that's upcoming, and we will also have a reading coming up at the beginning of May in our reading series as well. Ooh, when does your next class start? Good question. I have two classes that I run now live, the flagship course and then an accelerator course. Both of those will be starting their next round in August. I think mid-August for the accelerator, late August for the cohort of the flagship course. Flagship is 20 weeks, so they'll run through the end of January with some off dates due to things like holidays and whatnot. The fall's a little holiday heavy. And then for the accelerator, that will be mid-August through early mid-February. It's a 6-month program. So yeah, that's when those will take place. So if you're interested, reach out. There is an application form to fill out online for the flagship course. It's really quick, short, easy, and we'll schedule a call, lovely one-on-one. We'll talk things through. And you don't have to wait until the official enrollment period to go through that application process. So reach out anytime. I can put that in the description below as well, or in the comments. Great. I'll hold on for one more minute while other questions come in, if there are other questions. In the meantime, I've had a lot of fun recently writing more and in fun, strange, delightful ways with one of my collaborators. We did something fun the week before, where we didn't have a lot of time and we were just trying to move through writing a couple new sections to a song we're working on. And so we divvied it up, and she took one section and wrote a melody while I worked on the accompaniment of a different section, and then we swapped. And I wrote an accompaniment to her melody, and she wrote a melody to my other accompaniment. It was a lot of fun, and it turned out great. So, I'm always doing new things in my writing experiences as well, and it was a lot of fun to do something slightly new, slightly strange. A bit of a long question. All right, type it out. Type it out. I'm here. I always say that I'll stay on for an hour, so I'll do my best to stick around as you type out your long question. Or if you want to type it in pieces, however you want to do. But yeah, when people ask me, and the reason I bring up about the way that collaboration worked on that song, or is working, we're not done with it yet, is because people ask me a lot about collaboration. What does it look like? And do you always do it the same way? And I don't think I've ever done collaboration the same way twice with anyone. Because even within this particular musical that we're writing, we have written differently in different ways on different pieces. And even within this song, we wrote the main part of the song separately, not in the room. And then these other two sections, we toss these things back and forth. But sometimes it starts with a melody, sometimes it starts with an accompaniment or a chord progression, sometimes it starts with a lyrical idea. And yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of fun experimenting and playing with different ways to collaborate. And I hope that you play around as well, because it's never just one thing. Collaboration never looks like just one thing. And I think that's the joy of it. I know that historically speaking, we would talk about the famous writing teams as a one person did the words, one person did the music. But that's not always the case. Or one person did the libretto, one person did the songs. But sometimes collaboration can be more exciting or flexible than that, or can change as you go through your process. So that's why I brought that up. Still typing out, I assume. Wow, this is a long question. What else can I offer to all of you while we wait for the question to come in? What else do I got? I'm looking forward to this season on Broadway. Got some shows scheduled upcoming. I'm interested to see what comes of some of these new musicals. And the revival of The Wiz. I've never seen a fully staged professional production of The Wiz before. I'm very excited for it. I love that music so much. So I'm excited for that. And for Lempicka, how do we pronounce that? Does anyone know how we pronounce that? I know that she's a Polish artist, but I've loved everything that Rachel Chavkin has done so far, and so I'm very excited to see that show. And what else are we seeing? We are seeing. Why is my brain not working right now? I can tell you why, because I'm staring out this window at this beautiful garden across the way. It's very distracting. It's gorgeous. Anyway, I'm excited for the season and for what else is coming. Also for you Drag Race fans out there, Jinx Monsoon just began in Little Shop of Horrors. I'm interested in seeing that. The new Cabaret revival, I believe, just began previews or begins next week. That'll be fun. I heard mixed reviews about the London production. Mostly good, but with a couple little notes in there that make me curious. I'm gonna give you another minute here to finish typing this out. Okay. Here we go. We're getting it in pieces. I'm a new writer, having written a jukebox musical based on my favorite comedy band, but I struggle with trying to fit the songs into the story as well as I would like. I'm proud of what I've got, comma, which means there's more to come. I'll begin to speak to this while you finish out typing. Yeah, jukebox musicals are difficult for so many reasons. One of those reasons being that, yes, you have a catalog of music and you have to create a story around it, or you have a story that you think will go with the music, but then you have to find a way to actually make the music fit inside the storytelling. It's a tough thing to do because those songs were not written for that story. One of the reasons I think a show like American Idiot works is because that album had a story inside of it already. So it's pretty much just fleshing out the story, putting it on the stage. So I hear you. It is a tough thing to do, absolutely. One other thing I'll just toss out there while you're continuing to write is jukebox musicals are a tough little thing to dive into because you've got major rights questions and potential issues there to get the rights to the music in order to write the thing in the first place. But I feel as though some songs feel awkwardly placed into the story. What types of changes would one make to make a song/story to make them fit together? Oh, that is perhaps too specific of a question for me to answer without having the thing in front of me, but I'll do my best. When it comes to a jukebox musical, you have to ask yourself, why are we using this music? Why are we telling this story? And how are they going to fit together? Right? So it sounds to me like you have why to the music, why to your story, but then making them fit together. In a musical, why are we singing? Right? That's always a question to ask. Whenever you're writing a song for any moment in a musical, you have to wonder, what is bringing these characters to go from dialogue into song? Sometimes, in a jukebox musical in particular, that reason kind of gets shoehorned in, and it makes it hard to buy. But also, I think the other major reason, or the other major thing to think about is how is the music helping tell the story itself? And if it isn't, then I don't know that it's what we should be doing. I don't know that singing is what we should be doing at that moment, or at least singing that song. For example, would be my second song in the show. It's available on my channel. It's also pretty. Okay, not safe for work. Heard. Thank you. But I mean, there's lots of ways to incorporate into storytelling. Is there character growth that happens during the song? Is there a forwarding of the plot that's occurring during the song or can occur during the song? Is there a is there a way in which we see, like, is a song actually speaking more to inner life, inner feelings, emotional states, and emotional growth or development in some way, while we're actually seeing action take place? So not just the music kind of pointing to the inner thoughts, inner emotion, but maybe the lyrics are pointing at that as well, and the action is more of what the lyric work would be doing normally. For an extreme example, something like Moving Out, right? Moving Out is not about it's not really about the music and the lyrics necessarily. It's about the story being told on stage through dance. So that's, again, a more extreme example of that. But how can we incorporate the storytelling in? Mamma Mia does a pretty good job of this, utilizing a catalog and making it feel like it is working within the story that they're trying to tell, which is, sure, a relatively basic story, but it's got its complexities, and I think the music is pretty well dropped in. It does help, of course, that there are singers in the group of characters. So I don't know. I guess I'd have to probably speak with you more one-on-one in order to answer that question more sufficiently. But yeah, that would be my initial set of thoughts. And with all of that, since no other questions have come in and I have stalled long enough, I think that we will end it here for today, my friends. So thank you so much for joining me to Craig for giving us a song to listen to and enjoy and go through the feedback process of. I appreciate you all so much for being here for the live streams. The next video, our normal video, will drop next Friday. We'll be in another live stream in 2 weeks, and I hope to see you all then. In the meantime, my friends, have a great week, and I'll talk to y'all soon. All right. Cheers, everybody. Bye.